if I all of a sudden had the capacity to see and hear every single solitary thing that went on in your mind throughout the course of the day, give me a couple of minutes and I'll be bored shitless.
Thanks.
that person. But it's just noise. It really is. You know, there's a movement of energy, if you want to call it that, and just thoughts that are happening. But it has no more relevance than my hair blowing around in the wind. That's just happening too. Really. There's just movement. The difference is seeing through the fact that there's nobody here that it's happening to. That's all. It doesn't mean it's not happening. Life is still happening. There's things just spontaneously happening all the time, around us all the time. But with the eradication of me that the world is happening to, there's no suffering. There is no problem. Because the only problem that manifests is me. Me is the problem. But me is just another pattern of thought that floats through too, claiming ownership of this or this. After all, it's my seeing, it's my hearing, it's my tasting, it's my touching, it's my awareness. It's me that's aware of thoughts. Oh, that's such a big mistake. It's a process that we go through. Yeah. Because the first thing we do is start to spot that, holy shit, thoughts do just happen in and of themselves. I'm not choosing them. I don't create them. They just happen. Oh, you know, a bit gap gets created, a bit more gap gets created. Then you can start to laugh at some of the stuff that flows through. But even then, ultimately, there's still a sense of me here. Why? Because me believes it's the one that is aware of all the thoughts that just flow through. And it's not. Me is also contained in those thoughts that flow through. We just don't recognise it, you know. And because me takes or claims ownership of this sense of presence or this sense of being, it feels really solid. It feels really real. Why? Because the sense of presence and being is. It is. You know, I can remember saying, God, I know all this stuff, but I still feel like I'm here. I don't know where else I expected to find myself, by the way, but I still feel like I'm here. Like it was a profound statement. But I still didn't see it, even at that point, until I realised what was actually going on. And the realisation that I had was that last thing that me was clinging onto or hanging onto was this aliveness, was this beingness, was this awareness, was this sense of presence. And me, it was just a thought, by the way, yeah, was claiming ownership of it. It's mine. Yet that presence or awareness or sense of beingness, if you like, doesn't change. It's there whether me's there or not. It's there. So how can me claim ownership of it? It steps in later and goes, this is mine. Like it does with everything else. It's my car, it's my coat, it's my hat, it's my girlfriend, my wife, my kids, mine. It's its nature to do that. It just clings and takes and tries to fill itself, tries to make itself feel better by piling stuff in there. The only problem is there's no one there. So it's just like a bottomless pit. It doesn't matter what you pile into it, it's never, ever, ever satisfied. Ever. And the only suffering that seems to be happening is just thoughts, just one pattern of thought in conflict with another pattern of thought. That's all. So the suffering is just ideas, just thoughts. And then this pattern of thought in conflict with that pattern of thought, and then another pattern of thought will come up, I'm suffering. It's the weirdest thing. It's totally the weirdest thing, that how this operates. And then we get caught in it and we believe it. And when I say we, it's just a pattern of thought. There's a complete identity that gets created, an absolute complete identity that gets created, that starts to get created from when we're a couple of years old, when we start to learn words. And then all this conditioning goes in. Yeah? And, you know, at some point along the way we go, this is me. And now you're responsible for me. You didn't even create your me. Zero. To learn words for a start. You know, if you were brought up in Africa, where the culture was, your worth was based on how many cows you had as a male. Yeah, we're rubbing red soil all over our body, and, you know, to protect ourselves, and the women are going off hunters and gatherers. If you were born into that tribe, do you think your me would be the same me that's here now? It'd be completely different. Totally, completely different. Why? Because of the conditioning. What's been put in there. And then we take what's been put in here to be me. It's crazy. And you know, the reason we say all the time, go looking for it. Go looking for this me. Where is it? Go, like literally, go looking for it. Without assuming it's there. We just assume it's there.
And
why?
therein lies the suffering.
Yeah.
The search of the me that it can never be found.
Yeah. Like the real answer that should come up when you really dive in there to go looking for it is no answer, nothing. And in that pause, something magical happens. Because there's not an answer. It just sort of goes quiet. Me disappears in that. Because there's not one. And then you're encouraged to just abide there. Not that there's anyone that can abide there, but it's just a pointer, yeah? Be there. And where is there? Here. And it's really, really quiet internally. Massively quiet. Just still. Quiet. Space. All those words are wrong. But it just drops. Stops. Just drops. And where do you find yourself? Here. Where we've always been. Just it's been overlaid with all this stuff that goes on in here. And somehow we've been taught to believe that it's better and wiser, God, better and wiser to live in there than it is here. What the fuck? But we're taught that. And everyone is taught that. You know? And then we take what goes on in here to be real. Jesus, this is what goes on in here throughout the course of the day is so similar to what goes on in us when we're sound asleep on our bed at night, dreaming. Both states, if you look at them, are so similar. And neither state do you have any control over. It just happens. No control over the content of the dream or what's happened, you know, out here. Got no control over the thoughts that are going to come up or other people that you're going to interact with and what they're going to say and then what you're going to say. And it all just happens the same as in the dream.
Are they similar or are they the same?
Well, they're actually the same. It's the same thing that's going on.
Yeah.